It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the Villanova assistant field hockey coach, Carrera Lucus. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Can you talk about, of course, how you got started in college coaching?
Yeah, sure. So I spent 5 years at the University of Virginia, played field hockey there, loved it, was trying to figure out over the course of my 5th year what I wanted to do post-college, and was approached by the head coach of a Division I program who had heard a little bit about my background as a player and thought that based on my interests, I might be interested in coaching. And I honestly hadn't thought about it too much until that point. But if other people were reaching out to me saying they thought I might be good at it and that I might enjoy it, that means a lot. So that's when I decided, all right, I'm going to give it a try. So applied to that program, checked out who else had openings in Division I, and landed at Villanova.
Can you talk about, of course, your coaching time at University of Virginia?
Sure. So field hockey being a fall sport, my time as a student athlete wrapped up in the fall of my 5th year, whereas my studies, I was not graduating from my master's program until May. So still being on campus and still wanting to stay in field hockey, I asked the staff at Virginia if they would let me act as a student coach for the spring semester. And they were more than happy to have me on the sideline at practice and games. They were great asking me what I wanted to learn about, what I wanted to get out of that semester, and just really keeping me in the mix. So I served as a student coach at Virginia for 1 semester, had a really great time doing that. It was a nice transition, I would say, from being a student athlete to being a coach, because I had all the familiarity of already knowing the players, knowing staff, knowing the facilities, and just the university as a whole, but still getting to gradually try my hand at taking charge of a goalkeeper practice or managing tasks at team practice, things like that. So that was a great experience where it wasn't all totally new, as if I had just jumped into a full-time role at another university, but it gave me a chance to ease into the position.
Can you talk about, of course, coaching at your alma mater straight out of college and then, of course, transitioning from being a player to now a coach and earning like the respect from the players?
Yeah, so it's definitely an interesting dynamic being a young coach. And that first semester at Virginia as a student coach, the girls on the team were used to me being a teammate, a friend, someone they were hanging out with on the weekends. So that was interesting, having to flip a switch a little bit, just to say, like, all right, there is a little bit of a different dynamic here, coach player rather than teammates. But I'm the type of person that what you see is what you get. I'm not that different whether I'm your coach, I'm your teammate, I'm your friend completely outside of sport, your coworker. So for me personally, that wasn't a huge difference. It was more just the responsibilities that I was taking on. The girls on the team were great, never had issues with them not respecting my authority or anything. No, so and that allowed me to focus on the more technical elements of coaching, which was planning drills. So our one assistant coach who used to run the goalkeeper training at Virginia, he completely handed the reins over a few times and said, Carrera, you're in charge. You get to run goalkeeper training. And at first I'm looking at him like, are you serious? You're just letting me captain the ship here? So I was a little scared. But it forced, just throwing someone into the deep end sometimes is the best way to learn. And it made me realize how much I had to really think about. When you're a player and you show up, your goalkeeper training is all planned out nicely. You take for granted how much time went into planning that training. And you might remember the drills you've done and things like that, but the little details of the spacing of the drill, the angle the shot is coming from, the timing, things like that, you have to play around with because you realize you didn't make mental notes in that much detail. At least I didn't. So that's how that semester went.
That's so amazing. Can you talk about, of course, your time at the United States National Developmental Team?
Yeah, so I'm in my third year with that team. Really, I got picked up through the USA Field Hockey High Performance Program, which is something that a lot of Division I coaches will encourage their players to do over the summer. It involves trying out for regional training squads. You have 10 trainings over the course. I think it might start in late April and goes until early June at colleges and universities in your area. And a certain amount of people are chosen from the regional training squads to go play in a tournament in June each summer. So I had done the high performance training I did it starting summer after my first year of college. So after a few years, I think going into my fourth year of college, perhaps, from the tournament, I was then selected for the Women's National Development Team. That's part of the selection process for that team. So really cool to get recognized out of 150 people, I think, at that tournament to get to make that team. So basically what the development team is, it's a reserve team for the women's national team. The women's national team is full-time, development team is part-time, so we all are either students or have jobs on the side, and we operate through, well, before COVID, it was monthly training weekends every 3 to 4 weeks, but now we've been having to substitute with some virtual stuff. So typically it would be monthly training weekends where we would go to either Spooky Nook, where USA Field Hockey used to train, or a college and university, and we'd have girls come in from all over the country, all different college programs that they were playing at or coaching, or girls that were in the working world coming from wherever they work, and have 3 or 4 days of solid training. And then once per year, we get to do an international tour. Hopefully that will resume once the world gets situated a little better after COVID. Our tour for last year did unfortunately get canceled, but that is an awesome experience. I've been able to go to Chile now and the Netherlands on those tours, and you get to play legit international teams. I've played the Scottish senior national team, the Belgian U18 national team, one of the most elite Dutch club teams that had players who are Olympians, like multi-time Olympians, medal winners. We got to play the Chilean national team. So those are awesome experiences. Love those training weekends and love the girls on the development team. The ultimate goal is to hopefully make the senior national team. So stay tuned. We'll see.
That's so amazing. Can you talk about, of course, being a coach and also playing with the United States National Developmental Team? How difficult is that to balance, of course, coaching life and playing life?
Yeah, so the scheduling balance can be tough, but I totally think that the benefit you get from doing both of those things at the same time outweighs it. So I'm constantly pulling things that I'm learning as a player at those development team training camps or in our friendly matches into my coaching at Villanova. So I have a head coach here at Villanova who makes it work. She's great about understanding, okay, I might, have to run off and go do this training camp one weekend and not be available on campus at Villanova on Friday of that week or something like that. But she totally sees the big picture and values that I'm going to come back with drills that we did, with a better understanding of the game. Just things like that I can pick up from those training camps. So it's great when you have a support network of people that understand that there's benefit to balancing all of that and that it's going to be tough to do at times. but that you're bringing back things that are going to help them, help the Villanova program. So tough balance at times, but I would say it's totally worth it.
Can you talk about, of course, getting the Villanova job and what you have so far accomplished so far?
Yeah, I was so excited to get the job here. I came up, I interviewed, I am such a big fan of our head coach. I already knew the other assistant coach from the development team. She had been playing with me on that team for 2 years at that point. So it was nice to have someone familiar that I could ask questions about the job, about living in Philadelphia, things like that. So super excited. It's a great location for me. It's not too far from home. My parents are in Baltimore. The facilities here are awesome. The whole athletic department is so impressive. I remember walking in to the varsity weight room for the first time and just thinking it's the coolest space ever. So I love being here at Villanova. I love specifically the girls on this team. So fun to work with, hard workers. They make, getting up and going to work every day really something to look forward to.
Can you talk about, of course, building the culture at Villanova and how has that been like?
I love that you asked that question because we have been really, really working on our culture lately. We think we've got all the pieces in place to make some huge strides as a program. So we've been leaning into the cultural side of that to try and bring all those pieces together. So our culture is really driven on passion, growth, and accountability. Those are the 3 things that we're really trying to live day in and day out at practice when we eventually get to games, even off the field. So that's the kind of culture we're trying to live and breathe here at Villanova. We're doing a pretty good job of it. And when we're not, we're holding ourselves accountable. That's one of the pieces of it. So that's the culture we're working with here. Would you like me to talk a little bit about my roles specifically?
Yes.
Sure. So I was a goalkeeper. I am a goalkeeper since I still play. So I am primarily the goalkeeper coach on staff. In a sport like field hockey, sometimes the goalkeeper position can feel like an entirely different sport. So it's pretty important at the Division I level to have someone with at least some knowledge in the field to train the goalkeepers. So that was me. I got hired for that. Some of my other roles within the team, I do help recruit. All 3 of us on staff recruit, whether it's virtual like it is now or in person like it used to be and hopefully one day will be again. Recruiting is a fun part of the job. I manage a lot of our technology lately. So until I was brought on, this program did not have 2 full-time assistants. So now taking a step up and having 2 full-time assistants, I'm trying to see where I can add value, not necessarily just take things off of our head coach and our other assistant coaches' plates, but what more can I add to the program that might not have been possible with 2.5 positions, I guess, 2 full-time and a part-time. So I've tried to take the technology aspect and run with it in terms of platforms that we're using to code our film, to share game film with the team, to connect with our alumni, things like that. Just trying out a bunch of new programs. That was something that when our head coach hired me, she's like, I feel like you're a techie. I feel like you're good with the tech stuff. And in the back of my head, I'm thinking, you might be giving me a little more credit than I would give myself. But again, someone else seeing that in me, I was like, all right, I gotta fulfill the prophecy here and really make myself an expert on the tech side of things. So I'm a young coach. I haven't had very much time to work with these systems, but I'm connecting with some coaches that have been in the field for a long time and know these things inside and out and really trying to learn myself. I've been hitting YouTube hard with tutorials on a lot of our platforms. So, and then in addition to that, as a college coach, you wear a lot of hats. There's a lot of behind the scenes, administrative, office type stuff. So I have various tasks within that, like managing team meals, being the liaison with our strength and conditioning staff at Villanova. Lots going on. Any college coach, if you ask them about their roles, they're going to have a whole list.
Can you talk about, of course, what the recruitment process looks like for, of course, lacrosse?
Yeah, so field hockey here. When you're in high school, you play for typically your high school team and a club team. Some only play for one. And so for high school, you'll be sending out emails to a lot of coaches of schools that you're interested in, sharing your schedule, sending highlight film, and inviting them to come to your games if they get a chance. And then from the club side of things, there are large national tournaments, and then there's also regional tournaments that, again, you're emailing coaches whose programs you're interested in. You're sending your game schedules. You're asking them, if you're going to be at said national tournament, or if it's someone local, if you'll be at this regional tournament. I'd love to have you come and see a game, see me play. So when recruiting is live, that's how we will do it. We would physically go to these national tournaments in Florida, in where I think festival has bounced around a lot, Virginia, might have been down in Carolina at some point, but over at Spooky Nook, which is pretty local. And we've got a lot of regional tournaments at our field here in Villanova, which is great. So coaches will come and watch your games. We'll watch any highlight film that people say. And then so in your junior year, that's when we can start to communicate with prospective student athletes. And if we like what we see and we get to know you and we think you're a good kid, that's when we might extend an offer for a scholarship to come and play at Villanova University. And then the NLI, the National Letter of Intent process, happens during your senior year. That's what seals the deal, makes it official.
Can you talk about, of course, the official visit and what that's like before COVID?
I was going to say, gosh, it feels like so long since we've had an official visit. So yeah, typically with the way that the timeline works for field hockey recruiting, it's almost become that your official visit is after you verbally commit, you know where you're going, you go visit that university just to start to acclimate yourself and get to know a little bit more about the program that you intend to join. I think previously it was more of something that occurred before you made your verbal commitment. So you would go and visit a couple different schools, and that was kind of your final deciding factor to see which school you felt was the best fit when you're physically there, when you're getting to know the players and the staff and the area. So the official visit has changed a little bit in its purpose, I think, but it's always a great time, whether it's a school that you know you're going to or a school that you're considering. It's so fun to really get to see the campus in depth rather than just a quick little campus tour. You're living and breathing on that campus for 24 hours and getting to know the girls that are going to be your teammates for the next 4, 5, now with COVID, maybe 6 years.
Do you know, of course, like I know that it's your first year, but do y'all get to try on jerseys on the official visit?
Our program typically not, no. So I know like football programs will sometimes do entire photo shoots with their committed student athletes when they come on campus for that. But for us, we really want to spend that time just having the girls get acclimated and answer any questions that they may have, anything that might be weighing on them about the start of something as big and intimidating as the start of college can be, especially being a fall sport. When you come on campus before most of the other students and you hit the ground running in preseason with 2-a-day practices that are at so much more of a high level than you're probably used to. So we really want to spend the time of that official visit just getting those girls comfortable with campus and with the people that they're going to be surrounded by.
What does a game day look like?
Yeah, so typically our game schedule would look like Fridays and Sundays. This year it's going to look a little wonky with testing procedure and everything, more so Saturday, Sundays. But so Fridays would typically be evening games. Saturdays would be more like a noon or a 1 p.m. game. So game day looks a little different depending on whether it's one of those evening games or a morning game. But a Friday, you might still have class in the morning for the student athletes. And then you say it's a 6 p.m. game. We would head over to the field more like an hour and a half before the game. Our field is off campus. So that's something unique to Villanova. Not unique because there are some other programs in the same situation, but something that you wouldn't find at every university. So transport to the field is a part of pregame ritual. Have some time to get settled there, get kitted out, do any sort of pump up locker room dance party that you need to get your head in the right space. And then we'll come out to the field and warm up with between, I'd say like 50 and 45 minutes until game time. Get in a solid warm up. Then the festivities start. You have your starting lineups announced, any sort of promotion stuff that's going on, announcements by the commentators, and then the game gets underway.
What advice would you give upcoming high school athletes looking to get started and playing in college?
Yeah. So I think everybody knows the importance of setting goals, but something that I like to add to that is to really focus on the opportunities directly in front of you. So it's fine and dandy, awesome. I love to hear a student athlete that's saying, I'm gonna be on the national team one day, or freshman in high school saying, I'm gonna be a part of a national championship winning team one day. That's awesome. I love that. You gotta balance that with, all right, where do your feet stand right now? You're a freshman in high school. You wanna play in college, that's great. You have to be the best freshman high school field hockey player that you can be. If it's your club team, if it's your varsity team, even if you're still on JV, you don't get caught up thinking about varsity. Have your goals set, yes, but you really want to make the most of that JV experience. You want to be the absolute stud on that JV team, because if you lose sight of that, it's going to be a little harder to make that next leap onto varsity. There's a lot of situations you could apply that to, but that's something I like to remind high school athletes of. Be the best at what you are working on right in that moment, and then the opportunities will come, the doors will open, and you will end up where you are meant to be.
That's wonderful advice. What advice would you give upcoming college coaches looking to get started into field hockey?
This advice is going to be a little more literal. I'm going to look right into the camera and say this. If you want to coach in college, my greatest advice that I wish more people had told me, because I won't pretend no one told me, write down the drills that your coaches are having you do. It will be such a big help to have a little library compiled of drills, and give as much detail as you can. Be sure to write down the coaching points, the focus points of the drill, which ones you liked, which ones you might not have liked, which ones clicked that you really saw what the coach was trying to get you to see, so that when you are a coach down the road, you can fall back on that. It's great to have those drills, to be able to bring some fresh drills to whatever other program you might be coaching for. If you're lucky enough to go right into coaching at the same program you played for, that's awesome. This advice might not apply so much to you, but for everyone else that ends up getting scattered across the country to a new program, it is so helpful to have that, because you might think you're going to remember all the drills, but then head coach at your new program is asking you, what do you think we can use to work on transition, to work on ball protection, something like that. And you might be like, I know we had this drill that I liked, but I just can't remember how it was set up. I can't remember, exactly how we pulled it off. So if you had a little notebook with a diagram and just a couple bullet points about how that drill went, oh my gosh, I wish I had this notebook, but I did not do a thorough enough job of recording drills. And that's not just your college program. That might be through a program like High Performance, if you get to do those trainings in the summer. If you're coaching club, high school club, or even middle school while you are a college player, you can totally learn so much from the other coaches at that club. But getting that little drill library going, best advice I can give.
That's wonderful advice. Where can my listeners find you at on social media along with the program at?
Yeah, so Villanova Field Hockey is active on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Pulling my phone out right now to see the exact handle. I believe it's Villanova FH on all of them, but I do just want to check myself there. And it's myself and the other assistant coach that run these accounts. So this content you're seeing, it's coming straight from us on the Villanova Field Hockey accounts. So yes, at Villanova FH is our Instagram handle. Pulling up Twitter now. At Villanova FH, yep, I was right, for Twitter as well. And Facebook is just Villanova Field Hockey. My personal account, So I have a field hockey specific account that is at Carrera Lucus GK on Instagram. I don't do Twitter, sadly. So I'll just leave it at the Instagram. But yeah, you can find me there. I try to post a lot of goalkeeper related stuff, maybe some development team related stuff, really whatever I think the field hockey community would be interested in. But I would love for people to come check it out.
Thank you again, Carrera, for your interview, and best of luck in your future at Villanova.
Thank you so much for talking with me. This has been great.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram at Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Carrera, for your interview, and best of luck.
Yep, have a great rest of your day.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.